Hello, everybody. Hello. Here we go. I believe we are live. Hello. This is the company's expert. This is the company's expert. And for the first time, I'm doing a live stream on my main channel. So I hope you are fully aware of the history that you're watching here, the gravity of the situation, a monumental moment in all our lives. I see there are 9 people. I show 9 people in the chat. Feel free to jump in and say hello in the chat because I see those. And they give me a sort of moral comfort to know that I'm not doing this by myself. Anyway, we are going to talk about the job interview question, tell me about yourself. Everybody's favorite question to be asked. Not something that anybody asks themselves naturally, but something you get in a job interview. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go beyond that question to what a whole job interview is about, what's your purpose in the job interview, and how it's going to inform you in how you should answer pretty much everything they're going to ask you in the interview. So there we go. Ooh, I see we got 24 people. That's awesome. Thank you so much for turning out for this. I half expected there to be nobody here. We got Gabriel Lavoro, and I'm going to bastardize everyone's name, so just get ready for that. Soren says hi. Eamon S. Gabriel Lavoro again, and Khalid Al-Sheri. I'm so sorry if I'm saying everyone's name right. Maybe it's best I don't announce people's names. Yes, but we're going to talk about that question. We're going to talk about the recruiter's perspective, and we're going to discuss this stuff. If you're a beginner, if you're someone that is maybe kind of you're younger, you're in your 20s, and you don't have a ton of experience with job interviews, we're going to talk about it from that perspective and sort of lower level jobs. We're also going to talk about this same question and this same situation from a higher level perspective. So if you're a little bit older, if you're having more advanced career type jobs, and what you can expect there. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So that's great. Okay, I'll try this one more time. Let's see if I don't completely alienate everyone. Patrick Hansard is here. Greenium, that's an awesome name. Greenium reminds me of Kermit. Remo, that's awesome. I love that name. Joanne Talley and Kingsley Amar and Cinda Zairi, if I'm saying that right. I'm sure I'm not, but thank you so much. I guess the way this works is that you can ask a question in the chat, and I'll try to take those. I may not be able to, depending on how often that, how fast things are scrolling. But if you send a super chat or a super sticker, I guarantee I will answer your question to the best of my ability, properly and completely. Right. So now, I did a video a long time ago called Tell Me About Yourself, and I received a comment on that video the other day. I thought it was kind of an aggressive, offensive comment a little bit. Somebody was saying, if I'm going to paraphrase, some experts say that you should not mention material on your resume, but you say that you should. So which is it? That was the comment. So let's get into this. First of all, I think everybody and their brother and their second cousin 3 times removed is going to give you an opinion on how to answer this question. And the thing about advice of how to answer a question, everything is going to work some of the time. Okay? If you were to go to a job interview and somebody, if you sit down at the table with the interviewer and the first thing that they say is, so tell me about yourself. And you say, well, I'm here to kick your ass. That might get you hired occasionally. Usually it's not going to, but the point is everything is going to work some of the time. Okay. So if I were to advise you not to say that, there's always going to be somebody that's going to say, hey, I said that and I got hired, maybe you were up for the role of a bouncer at a nightclub. I mean, hey, that might be a really good thing to say in that situation, right? So everything's going to work some of the time. We're not dealing with absolute certainties, and there's no such thing, I don't care what anybody says, there's no such thing as memorize this answer, say it, and you will always get hired, okay? That just doesn't exist in my experience. But we're going to explain. So let's start with the way I recommend that you answer the job interview question, tell me about yourself, okay? If you see my video, this is what I say. Skip to the end. The answer is, the first thing out of your mouth is, so, well, as you can see from my resume, that's what you say. And then you spend the next 45 seconds giving a very concise summary of your resume. You maybe start with your education. You know, I have high school, or I have this degree, or I have, a PhD, whatever. And I have this work experience. I worked for 5 years here in this role, 5 years there in that role. I've kind of made that my career. I specialize in that. I also spent 10 years in that role here. And that's what brings me here today and why I'm excited to learn about this opportunity. That's what you say at the end. And that's what brings me here today and why I'm excited to learn more about this opportunity. Okay, I forgot to mention, when you go down your resume, you start with the oldest stuff and you come up in chronological order or reverse chronological order to the present. So then when you end with, and that's what brings me here today, and why I'm excited to learn about this opportunity, it makes sense. Okay, so that's the way I would advise people to answer that question. Okay, now, there are some people out there that recommend that you don't say anything that's on your resume. I think you should ignore them. This is why. Okay, here's the deal. First of all, when you go to a job interview, you are going to be assessed. What does that mean? It means you're going to be judged by people. They're going to decide if you're a right fit for a job or if you're not. And they're going to use a couple of different criteria, or two sets of criteria to determine this. I see that the chat here in my window is deleting the comments after they've been up for a little while. So I'm just going to adjust the setting here. Hopefully that changes it. What else we got here? Oh, people are already asking questions. Okay, I will get to those. I will get to those shortly. There are two sets of criteria that people will use to assess you in a job interview. Now, one criteria is pretty simple. It's what they've said they're asking for. So if you look at the job description, you look at the requirements, that's what they're looking for. So if you show up with all of those, they're certainly going to be paying attention to that. Okay? The other set of criteria is something that's unstated. Okay, something that they haven't disclosed. And that's intentional, because if they disclosed it, everyone who walked through the door, every candidate would claim that they have it, whether they do or not. And they'll get a much more objective view of you if they don't say, I'm looking for this. We just want to see if you have it or if you happen to bring it up. Okay? And it works the other way too. They might not be looking for a certain thing, and that's where it gets dangerous. Now, if anyone has ever taken a supervisor type job or anything like that, you know what I'm talking about, because anybody can be a supervisor, right? You could be an accountant, and then you could move into a supervisory role, supervising other accountants, right? You could be a salesperson and be a supervisor, supervising presumably other salespeople, right? Like any profession, any background, you could not have a lot of education, but you have a lot of experience, and they would take that person and make them a supervisor because they've got a lot of experience. Or you could be the converse of that, the inverse. You could have a lot of education and no experience or little experience, and they can make you the supervisor. So if they're looking for a supervisor type role and you apply for it, maybe they have some unstated requirements there. They're looking for someone who's more of a salesperson, or they're looking for someone who's more of a diplomat, or they're looking for someone who is more of an accountant. They have their mind on efficiency. Hello to Nav W. Hi from India. Hi from Canada. And Nima, Ardebili. Hi from Iran. Awesome. This is this amazing globally connected world we're living in. That's awesome. And what I find amazing is that everybody, regardless wherever they are, they have the same problem trying to get hired. And they're up against the same obstacles too. The names change and the situations may slightly change, but it's basically the same stuff. So you're up against these two types of criteria, okay? The stated criteria and the unstated criteria. Now, let's pretend that they posted a job for a supervisor and you apply. And you go to the interview and they say, tell me about yourself. Now, you don't know what really they're looking for beyond like the things they've stated. They could be looking for a very no-nonsense type person, very serious, hard to pull the wool over their eyes, hard to, sort of kiss them off with excuses, right? Someone's going to cut right to the core of a problem and solve it. Or they could be looking for someone who's more of a people person, very diplomatic, very friendly, very warm. People love working for them, but they might be taken advantage of, right? You have no idea. And they're not going to tell you because they want to see who you are. This is what you're up against. So when they answer a question like, tell me about yourself, and you can say literally anything, okay? There are some interesting things that people have said when asked that. The problem is you don't know what's going to get you eliminated and what they're going to love. You might have something that you think is a strength that you're proud of, but they may not see it that way. And I'm sure everybody here, you could probably tell a story of times when someone just didn't see your potential. You thought you were doing good. You're proud of yourself, but other people don't see it that way, right? So you have no idea who you're dealing with. You're flying blind. So that's the reason I say, if they ask you a horribly general question like, tell me about yourself, which is kind of, you could interpret it as a little insulting. You arrive at the job interview and it's almost like they don't know you. I mean, hello, you invited me here? Don't you know what's on my resume and what's on my application? It sounds like you don't, right? They ask you this question where you could say anything. You have no idea what they're looking for and what they're going to find good and what they're going to find bad. You say, oh, I'm a no-nonsense type person. I've had a long history of supervising things and people like me because I find the problem, I fix it. I protect the interests of the company, right? And unbeknownst to you, the person that's interviewing you is a very warm, compassionate, people type person. They go, I don't like that. I'm sorry, pass. So when you get into that situation, all you can say is that the material on your job application and your resume has not eliminated you. It's safe. So you start with that. And to all these people that, in their mind, they form a more specific question. I want to know about your interests. Well, if you want to know about my interests, ask me, what are your interests? If that's what you want. But if you're going to lead off with a horribly general question, I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to be polite, I'm going to be professional, and I'm going to answer the question. Now, if you were looking for something else, you should ask me about that because I'm not a mind reader, nor am I clairvoyant. So that's why I say what I say. It tends to work. A lot of people have found success with it. And hey, it's not original to me. I didn't come up with this. This is just an industry tried and true way of doing it. Okay, but it does work for these reasons. Now, let's see what we got here. I don't like how it's not keeping the comments on this feed that's right in the video. But let's see. Okay. Okay, who we got? So Ipwaku Altaj, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, says, I'm searching for a job. However, I'm 25 with no experience, but I have a degree in law. What do you advise me? Thank you. Well, okay, first of all, law is a very insular type profession. There are regulations, rules, there are associations and whatnot. And I'm not a lawyer myself, so I can't help you navigate those too much. But the no experience thing. There are two ways around that. Okay. The first way is when you are putting yourself forward for a job, instead of relying on your experience to sell you, you should demonstrate your qualities. Okay. That is one way around that. So for example, let's say you approach a hiring manager, somebody who's hiring for a job, and you demonstrate professionalism, you demonstrate manners, you demonstrate respect, you demonstrate a knowledge of protocol, you demonstrate persistence, you show off your communication skills, you show off how reliable that you are if they send you a message and you respond, or they ask you to meet them and you show up on time, things like this. Okay. In that case, they're forming a good impression of you, not because of what's on your resume, but because of what you've demonstrated through your interaction with them. Okay. So that's one way of doing it. I talk about that more in my course. Like getting a job on the hidden job market usually relies on that. Okay. The other way is for you, if you can't get a job through conventional channels, okay, to create your own job. I know that sounds kind of high level, and it is. It's more ambitious, but it is possible, especially in this day and age. I mean, the most obvious, simple example, since we're all on YouTube, would be for you to start a YouTube channel, start giving, videos about the law or something you know about, helping other students study for it, or bringing up news in the world of law and stuff like this. Like have something to your name. That's something that you can then put on your resume and say, like, look, this is what I've done. Okay. I have done something, and you can check it out and you can see firsthand. And there's a lot of people that like it. Okay. I mean, there's many examples of that, but that's one example of how you could do that. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't think I have time to, unfortunately, to answer every question that's coming in real time. If you do a super chat, I will skip to your question. But yeah. So anyway, that's the reason why for Tell Me About Yourself that I say you stick to material on your resume. Now, that first line that you say, okay, as you can see from my resume, technically you don't have to say that line. If you feel a little bit awkward saying it, it's more of a memory jog for you than it is information that you're trying to communicate to them. You don't have to say the line. You can just launch into what's basically on your resume. Well, I have this degree. I worked for 5 years in this role where I accomplished this goal. And then I moved to this other company where I worked for 6 years in this position, and so on. And that's what brings me here today. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's the way I recommend that people answer the question. But think about it for a second. Think about what's your purpose in a job interview. I know I've mentioned this before, but for people starting out, it's not obvious. This stuff is not obvious. You're in the job interview for one purpose, and that's to communicate to them how you have everything that they're looking for. Right now, they've made some of it easy for you. They've given you a job description where they said, these are the requirements. We're looking for someone who has this, right? Now, some of those you're going to meet. Some of them you might not, but they're not an obstacle that you can't overcome because you have some similar thing in your background. Okay? So maybe they want bookkeeping experience or something like this. Now, you've never worked as a bookkeeper, okay? But you did take an accounting course in high school, something like that, okay? And maybe you have a family, your parents have a family business, and you've helped out there in the summer or something like that. So you can say, well, look, I don't have this, but I do have an accounting course that I have taken. I know accounting, and I have helped in my family business looking over the books. So I have some accounting experience or some bookkeeping type experience, so I can at least speak to that requirement. Okay, a lot of times these requirements are not actual requirements, they're nice to haves. That's the reality of it. If they like you and you can at least speak to all the requirements, a lot of times that's enough to get you hired. So that's the good thing. And yes, I'm still drinking Red Bull. It's terrible for your body. It's what's led me to the pinnacle of physical perfection that I am now. Cinda Zairi says, when we passed an interview and didn't have an answer after that, how should we proceed? When we passed an interview and didn't have an answer after that, how should we proceed? I'm not sure what you mean by that precisely. Like if you say the thing that you came to say and then they ask you another question, what do you say? It's okay to repeat yourself in a job interview. I have talked about this where, these people may ask you two questions in a row that basically have the same answer. They might say, why do you feel qualified to do this job? And you say, well, I have a degree and I have experience doing it, right? And then they ask you right after that, why do you think we should hire you? It's like, well, because I feel qualified. I have a degree and I have experience doing it, right? It's okay to repeat yourself. Don't feel that you can't repeat an answer, okay? You don't have to say the exact same words like a robot, like a copy paste, but you can communicate the same idea, okay? That's actually good because depending on the type of interview you're going to, a lot of times the people that are at the across from you at the table, in the 21st century, they're still writing things down on a piece of paper and a pen, right? And they're writing all during the time you're talking. So they're not really listening to what you're saying 100%. You don't have their complete attention. They're busy writing down what you said a minute ago. And they miss what you're saying. Their brain registers that you gave an answer and it was okay, but they don't remember what the answer was. So if you repeat yourself again, it's okay. Okay, I want to give everyone permission to do that. It's not the end of the world. Don't go in there thinking that that you can't repeat yourself, okay, or that you've already given your answer and you're fresh out of answers. You're in the interview to communicate to them how you meet all the requirements, and then on top of that, how you have all the soft skills that they're probably looking for. A lot of that will be demonstrating the soft skills. So for example, if you're talking to them, you don't have to say, I'm a very polite person, because that's something that you don't really represent. You demonstrate it. If you just look nasty, like what's kind of, have you seen people that kind of, the way they look is just very unapproachable. They look kind of, like this. Like you don't want to go up and talk to them. You kind of feel scared to talk to them, when someone who looks like that, kind of, where they got the wild eyes, and they say like, oh, I'm a very approachable person, it's like, it doesn't really do any good communicating that verbally, stating it. It's something you demonstrate, right? So for example, your communication skills, you're going to demonstrate. Your charisma, you're going to demonstrate. Your sense of protocol, manners, politeness, you're going to demonstrate that. How sensitive you are to others, how emotionally intelligent you are. If these things matter for the job that you're taking, that's stuff that you're going to demonstrate. You're not going to say, well, it says on my resume that I have emotional intelligence, and yet you've just created a bunch of awkwardness in the room and you're unaware of it. Something like that. So Arun says, message retracted. I should think so too. No, just kidding. Why does it say that? Is that when you delete? That when you erase what you just wrote? It's not one of those things where you say a comment and that's it. Once you said it, you can't delete it. Curtis Albrecht is here. Hello to Curtis. Joanne Talley. I said Joanne. Jay Zell. That's awesome. Hello from Latvia. Right on. Hello from Canada. Gallo is here. Welcome to Gallo. Albert A boy. was like Ahab. That's good. And Nariman Hashratli. Hello to Nariman. And Gabriel Lavoro. Excellent. Yeah. So that's the big issue. The big issue is that that's what you're up against in a job interview. Now, coming back to the comment that I got, okay? Some people recommend that you don't say the stuff on your resume. The problem with that is that you're stepping into the unknown. You could say, well, I'm a very professional person, and I used to live in this country, and now I live in this country, and in my spare time, I like to do this. I like to chase butterflies and collect stamps and bird watch and, this kind of stuff. And what you don't realize is they've just eliminated you based on something you said, and you're not aware of it. That's the problem. Now, if you ask a recruiter, okay, a typical recruiter, and I got to put disclaimers on this because I'm not beating up on all recruiters. There are some amazing recruiters out there. However, there's also a lot of bad ones. When a typical recruiter advises you, okay, how to answer job interview questions, a lot of times they'll say, well, just tell the recruiter everything they want to know. Don't hold anything back, because if you hold anything back, it'll be bad for you and we'll know, right? Tell us everything we need to know about you so then we can eliminate you. That's basically what they're saying. These people are your adversary in this exchange. Okay? That's the reality. Okay? They are going to judge you on superficial things that involve heuristics, they involve probabilities, they involve stereotypes. And I'm not coming down on them too hard, because when you only have like one meeting to make a decision about somebody, you really have no other choice but to go on stuff like that. You go on first impressions, you go on, literal things that they say, but that's what you're up against. And, so this is the defense mechanism against that, against people making an incorrect assumption about you and eliminating you from the competition. John Mark Neil Cardona, I wish I had 4 names, says, hello from the Philippines. Hello, John Mark. And Fabian Pinto. What does the B stand for? Pinto B. I don't want to make a joke. But hello to Fabian. Thanks for being here. You guys are all awesome, by the way. And you are engaged in some self-improvement. You are here in the interests of self-improvement. If you keep this up with me or with any other source, in the long shot, you will come out on top. So you are awesome. Thank you very much for showing up, and hopefully you get some value. Okay, I'll take a random question here since I'm not getting any super chats. Curtis Albright says, hi from Illinois. Similar question. New chief manufacturing officer asks engineering/tech group to tell or introduce yourself in an onboarding. What's the preferred response strategy? Okay, new chief manufacturing officer asks a group to introduce yourself in an onboarding. Well, onboarding means that you've just been hired. If you've just been hired, and this is sort of an introduction so that everyone else learns who you are, that's a bit of a different situation. You're not up against a sort of adversary trying to manipulate you. In which case, if you say, tell me about yourself, you say like, well, my name is X, and this is my background. Give them a little bit of technical stuff, like 10 seconds of technical stuff about you. I have this degree. I have this much experience. And I would not mention where you worked previously if you've just been hired at this business or at this organization. And give them something personal about you. Maybe one hobby type thing or interest you have. And then say something like, I'm very happy to be here and I'm excited to meet all of you and work with you in the coming year. Something like that. Okay, so if you're sort of having to introduce yourself to a group, tell me about yourself, that might be a sort of way to do it. if you're given 15 seconds, the typical sort of introduction. Okay, so that's what I would say. Albert, a boy, says, I followed your job interview step by step. I sent them a thank you email on the same day, 7 hours later. Yes. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but if you're going to do it, that's kind of the thing to do. Nariman Hashratli says, hello, your videos really helped me in my interview, and I was accepted for the job. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Nariman. Way to go. You kicked ass. That's great. That's great. You must be very relieved and very proud of yourself, and you deserve to be. So congratulations. Yes. I'd like to share something with you guys. I had this in the docket to respond to, but you can tell me what you think of this. So I received a note from someone called John, who said, I received this note and I'm wondering how to interpret this. And this was the note. Okay, very short. It says, hi, John. Andy is continuing to interview the candidates this week, and I should have insight at the end of next week or earlier regarding the next steps. I hope you're doing well and getting ready for the Memorial Day weekend. I will let you know insight if I hear sooner. In the meantime, we will be in touch late this week or earlier the following week with the next steps. Thank you, John. Have a wonderful long weekend. Michelle, who's apparently the vice president of talent acquisition at whatever organization that is. I mean, I think that's an uncommonly good response. They were polite. They were professional. They actually did respond. That's in this day and age, that's something you don't always see. People don't always respond. Ghosting is kind of the way people do things now, unfortunately, and you just have to expect that. But there's not really much to interpret there. That's a good response. The one thing I will say is that you didn't blow them out of the water so much that they put all their other interviews on hold. Okay? But that's not really a realistic expectation anyway. They did the thing that I don't like, which is that they mentioned other candidates to you. That, in my opinion, is unprofessional. It makes people feel bad. Okay, but apart from that, it was 100% positive. And now, if they don't respond to you afterwards, they don't get back to you and they say they're going to get back to you, I hate to say it, but just move on. Okay? You can maybe contact them once. If you get if you're contacting by phone, leave a voicemail if they don't pick up. But beyond that, that's it. I wouldn't waste my time, to be honest with you. You guys have had some bad experiences. I know a lot of people commenting. I've had a lot of bad experiences in the job search process. And the thing to do is to always focus on the next thing that you're going to do. Okay, when you go to a job interview, maybe you're at the final round and it seems like they're ghosting you. They're not responding anymore. Always be thinking about the next thing you're going to do, what jobs you're going to apply for. Okay? What's the next opportunity you're going to create for yourself? Don't just get stuck in the cycle of constantly thinking about this opportunity that might be slipping away, because you have no control over that. It's not good for your mental health to dwell on that stuff. Now, I know this is easier said than done, but as much as possible, always focus on what you're going to do next. Always look at the next opportunity, okay? It's a numbers game. You throw many sort of, I hate using darts references. I'm not one of those people that plays darts. Those are some pretty interesting people. But you throw a lot of them at the wall, and the more of them you throw, the more chances you have of scoring a bullseye, right? Maybe a golf impression would be better. The more times you hit the ball, the more chances you have of getting it in the hole. Let's see what we got here. Jayzel says, I had a job interview 3 months ago with HR and GM, I guess, general manager. They said that I am hired and kindly asked me to wait 2 to 3 months as they need to sort some things out. Should I contact them first or keep waiting? Well, the answer to the last question I said applies here. Look, if these people could be legitimate. They could have decided to hire you and then need 2 or 3 months. I suppose that could be true. But that does seem kind of strange to me. You're hired. By the way, I need 3 months to sort something out. It could be that the company's on the edge of bankruptcy, or there could be some internal issue, in which case that doesn't look good. Okay? Now, I would say contact them, leave a message, say, okay, I got your message, so fair enough. Or you could wait like a month or 2 and then call them, but just keep looking, okay? Don't stop your job search based on this note that you've received, okay? That's important, because what's, I think, more likely, and I hate to say it, is that they say they're going to hire you, but it doesn't. I would not be surprised if that didn't end up happening, okay? So that's fine. If they don't have their act together, that's fine. It has nothing to do with you. You keep looking, okay? Now, if they come back to you in a couple of months and say, yes, we'd like to hire you, we've got the offer, and we want you to start on this date, give me your banking information so we can set up your pay. If they come back to you and say that, great. But if they don't sweat it. Don't wait before you start applying for other things. Keep looking in the meantime, okay? There's nothing that anybody should be able to say to you other than you're hired and you start on this day, okay? And here it is all in writing, okay? Anything other than that, you don't give them anything. You don't stop your job search. You don't turn down other job offers, okay? You do what's right for you, because they have no loyalty to you. They only have loyalty to themselves, okay? So you keep that in mind. If they only have loyalty to themselves, you only have loyalty to yourself. You do the right thing for yourself. That's what I would say to that. I wish I had better news, but don't let it worry you. Don't let it disrupt you. Keep looking. It might be a blessing in disguise, and you might find a really amazing job in the meantime. John Mark Neil Cardona says, hello, sir. I'm unemployed for 2 years, and I'm applying to certain companies. They always ask me about the gap or those years that I'm not working. I just don't know how I explain myself about that. Well, I have videos for all this stuff. If you go to my channel, I have several videos on work gap. Okay. I mean, it's not a simple answer. It depends where the work gap is, how long, and why. Okay. There's different answers, different ways of handling it, depending on those details. Okay. So go and check out those videos. I unfortunately, I can't really. It would take 15 minutes to explain. So, but I do have videos on that. Check those out. Okay. Yes. Now, another part of coming back to the topic of the live stream. Tell me about yourself. A big part of understanding this is understanding the recruiter's perspective. And in my experience, people that are in their 20s, they haven't had a ton of experience with job interviews. This is what they struggle with. And I know why they struggle with it, because it's stupid. But it's something that you need to learn. Okay? It's very hard for any of us, myself included, to have objectivity about ourselves. We don't know if we're making a good first impression or a bad first impression. We don't know what kind of first impression we're making. Okay? And so being able to get that information is very valuable. I highly recommend that you do everything you can to get that information. What impression am I making to people who don't know me? What's the first thing they notice about me? Okay, this is important. Now, the recruiter doesn't know you. Okay, 99% of the time you go for a job interview, the recruiter doesn't know you. They've never met you before. Okay, so they're going to get a first impression of you. You're going to be ignorant of that first impression that you're giving out, those vibes. Okay, and then people that you've spoken to before, they'll get an impression of you too that you are oblivious to. So being able to recognize and learn what that is, that's very important. If you ever want to change it, if you ever want to tweak it, getting that knowledge is very important. How do we do this? One tool is through mock interviews, okay? I've talked about this before, but it's very, very useful. Do mock interviews. Go get a friend. Go get a family member, okay? Those two people are not ideal, but they're better than nothing. They're a lot better than nothing. And practice doing job interviews with them, okay? And the advantage is getting their feedback. Now, the problem here is that if they're being really honest, if they're indeed being honest, they're probably going to say things that you might not enjoy hearing. But it's important that you hear them so that you can take them into account. Okay? I know this is a total cliche, but there's an expression, know yourself, right? It's very, very important. If you are going to work with other people, that's important. Okay, so that's very, very important. If you don't know how to do a mock interview, just get your family member, get somebody that you know, and say, do you mind helping me practice for a job interview? Here, all you've got to do is sort of like, here's a list of questions. Just ask me these questions in a random order. You know, maybe think up a couple extra ones of your own. And let's pretend we're in a job interview and you interview me. And then when we're done, just tell me what you thought. Okay? This is the thing. A lot of professionals pay lots of money to private HR companies to provide this service for them. They will bring you in for like mock interviews, and they will run you through like, an interview, different types of job interviews, like the stress interview or just the regular interview or a panel interview. And they will put you through the whole thing, and then they will give you some feedback. And they'll say like, I've never met you before, but this is my impression. This is how I think you did. And then you can get multiple interviews like this, multiple mock interviews with different people. And if they all kind of say the same thing, that probably means that that's the vibes you're giving off. So, yeah, very useful. Like one thing that a lot of people struggle with is in a job interview, you're trying to sell yourself. You're trying to talk about how great you are and how you're the answer to everything they're looking for, right? How do you do that without being arrogant, without coming across all, sort of, for want of a better word, arrogant? Some people overcompensate and they come across really arrogant, like a know-it-all, right? Or just really full of themselves. And it's hard to know if you're doing that. Other people, they do the opposite. They don't want to brag. I don't want to seem, like an arrogant jerk. So I'm just going to downplay myself, because that's what you do in terms of politeness. You don't kind of talk about how great you are, and you don't talk about, all about yourself for hours and hours. These are things we don't normally do, if we're sensitive to that. So, you want to be polite, but how do you know if you kind of downplay yourself, you go to the job interview, and then they're left with a bad impression of you? Mock interviews are the answer, okay? There's certainly a tool anyway. They will help. Fabian Pinto B stands for Barnechea, if I'm saying that right. Is a Spanish second last name. Right on. So it's good to meet you. Nav W says, how can I overcome the fear or phobia of interview, even if I'm good at English communication? Practice, my good friend Nav W. The more you do, the better you get. Practice makes perfect. That's true for everything, including public speaking type situations. Okay? Now, what some people have done, okay, is they apply for a lot of jobs, and even if they're not super into the job, if they get a call back, they will go to the interview. If for no other reason than to get interviewing experience. The more you do, the better you get. Okay? If you think it's hard learning the answer to all these different job interview questions, once you've been to, say, 20 job interviews, you will have heard a lot of those questions again and again and again and again. And so when you go to a job interview, you know what they're going to ask. It's really not that hard. They're going to ask like probably about 7 fundamental questions. That's basically what they're going to ask. And you've heard them all before. They might be phrased slightly different each time, but there it is. It's the same question. So the more of them you do, the better you get. Okay, so that's how you overcome the phobia. Getting good at something gives you confidence in yourself. And that's how you overcome the fear. If you have confidence, it gets rid of phobia. Okay, and that, like, if, I don't know how old you are, but if you're sort of younger, you're just starting out, that's the journey of life, okay? The journey of life is getting thrown into stuff when you're younger, generally not doing as well as you'd hoped you do, but improving over time. And by the end of the game, you are a master. If you're doing it right, you are a master before the game ends. You know? So don't worry, okay? But the work you're putting in now is going to pay off for you very soon and certainly later. You're going to kick ass later, okay? Because of the work you're doing. And you might not be doing so bad now because of it, okay? So we just put in a few interviews and, you know, look, the advantage of these job interviews is that in most cases, you're never going to see these people ever again. So don't sweat it. Okay. If it's embarrassing or it's, you know, it's awkward, don't worry about it. Just keep doing them and you will feel yourself improve. Okay. And you'll feel yourself not being as nervous about it. Okay. And you will probably go on to do great things. If you get a job where you do your job and then you're a worker and then you become a supervisor and maybe a manager. Okay. You will have to get up and talk to people and you will be an expert at doing that. Okay. I don't care if you're shy. I don't care if you're an introvert. Practice makes perfect for everybody. Ashrar Hussain says, why does the company I want to join want my bank statement? Well, there's several reasons for that. It could be several reasons. I know in some countries like India, that's a little bit more standard than it is in, say, the West or the EU. At least that's my understanding. It's a way to, it can be, first of all, it could just be fraudulent. Okay, I'll say that right now. But there are some legitimate reasons for it. Okay. If they hire you, they will want to set up your pay. But what I think that they're really going after here is they want to check your credit. They want to check your standing with the bank. They want to, it depending on how old you are, it might be to see if you do have a bank account. Okay. It could also be to verify pay. Okay. Because at least in the West, at least in Canada, United States, I'm not sure about every country in the world, but in the West, there's nothing that an employer, there's no database an employer can look up to check your finances, to check your credit, to check your credit history, to see how much money you have. There's nothing they can like look up on you. You have to give them, you know, permission, and you have to give them those kinds of materials yourself because they can't just go behind your back and check on you. Okay. So it may be something to do with that. Okay. I wouldn't do it unless, you know, you really need it. Like it's a job of a lifetime in a very reputable company that has a good reputation. If it's a well-known company, I would ask around. I would see if, you know, did they ask you for your financial statements? I would just check that. But if they don't know anything about you and you haven't gotten very far into the process, but they need your bank information, that's, I don't know, that I would interpret that as a little bit of a red flag. Oh, excellent. Paul gave me a $1 from Paul. Thank you very much, Paul. You are awesome. If you have a question, I'd be happy to answer it. Thanks very much. That's the first one today. You are the first, my friend. You're leading the pack. I guess I could just do questions. I mean, this is what this is turning into. That's fine with me. You guys have questions? That's cool. Let's see here. Amy M says, how do you deal with job search burnout while simultaneously dealing with job burnout? Yeah, that's a tough one. Listen, it depends on what you're doing, okay? It is possible to do a job search entirely from your computer. You don't need a telephone. You don't need to be around during office hours. It can be entirely remote, and it can be entirely like not in real time. Like you could do it at night. You could do it whenever on your lunch break. You could do it whenever. It is possible to do that. In my course, I give methods that allow you to do that, whether you're looking in the hidden job market or applying for jobs. So I would recommend that. Now, if you're an extrovert type person and you enjoy social interaction, that's probably not what you're looking for. What I would say is that if you have made the decision to leave your job, okay, the job that you're in right now, I know this is perhaps self-evident, but I would disengage from that job. I would, you show up for work, you do your job, but you're no longer emotionally invested in it. You basically don't care anymore. Okay? You don't let anything bother you because frankly, you don't care. And you keep telling yourself, you know what? I'm leaving. It doesn't matter, and just like a mantra and do that. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't really advise on that kind of stuff too well. But if it were me, that's what I would do. And I've actually done that before in my earlier career with at least one job. So that can help somewhat, okay? And you just do the minimum possible, okay? And then focus your energy or what energy you have left into your job search, and then use methods that don't require activities that are less enjoyable to you. Like if you're not a phone call type person, you do your job search over something like LinkedIn, okay? Or just applying to job ads, something like that. Okay, that doesn't require phone calls generally. Okay, that's what I would say. I'm an introvert, so talking to people on the phone, talking to people in person, doing meetings, I can do it, but that's an energy draining experience for me. When I'm left to my own, I work remotely, I deal with people remotely. Right? So that's for me. Extroverts are the opposite. They don't like being alone in a room. They want to be surrounded by people. That's what makes them feel good. So if you are that type of person, then engage in those type of activities. If you can swing having a cell phone that goes off where you work, and if you could sort of arrange some little thing for yourself that if you take a call, you can go like someplace where nobody's listening in, your boss can't see you, and just take a quick call. That can help. Sneaking off. I remember having to do that. I sound like such a bad person, but I remember sneaking off to my car in the parking lot and sitting in my car and taking a phone call for a different job. So, as much of that stuff as you can do as possible. That's all I would say. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, Adam Gerbrick. Adam, you are awesome. I love these questions. Unfortunately, nobody seems to want to hear me talk about this stuff, but Adam says, I was thinking about starting my first business, like a cloth company. Any idea how to break through or how to make company properly? I would like to be a successful leader. Any ideas or books to read? The number one bit of advice I would give if you're interested in a certain type of company, you're probably going to hate this, but go and try and get a job at that type of company. See it on the inside. Okay? Go into that company with two things. Number one, the desire to learn everything about it and really do a great job. Okay? And 2, you're going to go into that company like a germ, and you're going to learn as much as you can so that you can start your own version of it. Okay? It's not necessarily a bad thing. If you can go into a company that's doing this, a cloth company, and see where they're not doing a great job or see some kind of need that isn't filled, okay? You could then establish your own company that fills that need. And this company where you worked at, they're going to be your first customer, okay? Just go in and learn everything about it from the inside. Don't stay on the outside of it, trying to imagine what it's like on the inside. Go into it. And after, 6 months, a year, when you've learned everything, then you can possibly start your own company using that knowledge. That's what I would say. Okay? If you want to do something, it's hard to do something from the outside. You've got to get on the inside of it. Okay, even if you don't stay there, that's the way to really learn what's actually going on. And it's not some kind of guess or interpretation, right? There's too many people that try and start companies and they're just guessing what it's like, and they take their best guess, and it's usually way off the mark because they just don't have the information. Anyway, I love to talk about that stuff that's entrepreneurial. Unfortunately, not many people tune in for anything I say about entrepreneurial stuff, so I'm going to get back to but yeah, it is the final culmination of the whole job search process. If you can end up working for yourself, you get to keep all the money. You don't have to give 70% of it away to somebody else. You get to keep it all. And you get to be your own boss, and you get to take your destiny in your hands. Okay, it is risky, but then again, having a regular job is risky. Okay? When you're young, time to learn. Time to learn not from books, but by doing. Okay. We got a couple from TT here. TT reminds me of CC. There was a band, a hair band in the 80s called Poison. I'm sure you all know them, especially you people in Iran. I'm sure you listen to Poison every day, even today. And the guitarist was CC DeVille because he had the biggest hair of all. And it was like the brightest, most neon shade of purple. So that's the image that comes to my mind when I see your name. I just thought you'd like to know that. TT says, I love what you said about attending as many interviews to get the experience and not sweat about it, as you may not be seeing them ever again. Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. Question, is it necessary to share current salary to the interviewing employer? I believe they don't need to know about it. Am I right? I did a video that's an hour long talking about salary. It's hard to get into it very quickly, but I'll try and answer. If you go to your job interview, it's the first time you're ever meeting these people. It's the first job interview for this job. And they demand to know your salary. Why do you think they're asking that? Is it to help you? No, it's to eliminate you. Right? So if it's bad for you, like they're using it to eliminate you, you try not to give them that information. Like if someone said to you, I'm looking for, an interviewer said to you, I'm looking for a certain type of person for this role. Now, would you describe yourself as an accountant or a salesperson? Which most closely resembles you? Well, this is information you don't want to give them, right? Because presumably, whatever answer you give, you run a 50% chance of being eliminated for your answer, right? You're going into it blind. You're not in control, right? And this is the thing, people, like psychologists have done tons of experiments on this. Like if you look like you're someone in authority and you go up to somebody and ask for some information that's really none of your business. You say, I need to know your credit card number right now so I can check something. A lot of people in that situation will actually give their credit card number. Something they should not give. right? But because you're put on the spot, you feel a certain amount of social pressure to not annoy somebody by refusing to cooperate with them. That's how we've all been conditioned to try and please people to a degree, right? We feel pressure to make this person happy and answer their question, give them what they're looking for, right? Now, some people feel that pressure more than others. Not everybody's going to give someone their credit card number. A lot of people will say, screw you, you know? That's none of your business, buddy, pal, right? You know, but we feel the pressure. Now, when you're in a job interview type situation, a lot of interviewers will take advantage of that principle to get you to disclose things that's not in your own interest. They're going to get you to essentially hang yourself, right? They're going to probe and they're going to ask and they're going to like put pressure on you to say things about you that you wouldn't normally would have wanted to disclose. And it's all not in your best interest. Okay? So that's the thing. And if you are young and if you're kind of new at this, you're not really prepared for that. You feel like it's a kind of just innocent conversation. California, so I'd say F you, yeah. What you do is you get up, you slam your fist down on the table and you say, F you, man, right? That's the sign of a good interview. Let me tell you. I don't think that they train for that. Maybe they train for that in the construction business. I'm not sure. You know, for an interview to go that way. And then that's when the martial arts come in handy. Sir Poplar, I like that. Sir Poplar says, thanks so much for your advice in your vids. I watched a lot of them before I interviewed for my current job and I got hired after 3 interview rounds. Much appreciated. My pleasure. You obviously did a great job, Sir Poplar. I'm sure when they heard what your name was, they gave you the job on the spot. That's the ticket. That's what would do it for me. Enzo Karate says, hello, Bill. First thing, I love your channel. Thank you big time for your help. Hey, my pleasure. I'm glad to see that. My question is, if I had an interview in the middle of May for a job I would really like to have, they said that they would call me by the end of May, but they didn't. Should I call them now? I would follow up once. Can't hurt, right? But listen, if you get the vibe that they just don't want to talk to you, you know, like if you call and say like, hello, I'm just following up. The last time we spoke, you had indicated to me that, you know, you were seriously thinking of hiring me or whatever. I'm just following up to see if that went anywhere. Please let me know. Here's my contact information, something like that. Okay. If you said that and you received nothing from them, I wouldn't waste your time following up. Okay. Now, if they call you back and give you more promises, but still don't deliver, then I wouldn't follow up after that. Remember, keep focusing on the next thing you're going to do, okay? Look out for number 1, okay? These companies are loyal to themselves first, and you are maybe a distant second, okay? If they even think about you at all, okay? So in response, you do you. You go look for the next opportunity for yourself. Don't stop looking on account of these people, okay? The first thing that comes along that isn't a promise, that's when you start changing your behavior, okay? If they give you an offer, that's when you start changing your behavior. Until then, you do what's best for you. You keep looking, and you do the best you can to drum up new opportunities. My pronunciation is a little bit off, especially when I've been drinking Red Bull. Okay. Enzo Karate. Wow, that's a good name. Enzo Karate. I wish I had a black belt in Enzo Karate. Hello, Bill. First thing, I love your channel and big thank you for your help. My question is, I had an interview in the middle of May. Oh, that's the one I just read. You can tell I'm on the ball today. It's a Sunday. Is it reasonable common for, this is Yemi T says, is it reasonable or common for a potential employer to ask the applicant to pay back for their own background checks? No, that's not reasonable. I mean, that's not the convention. I've never heard of that before. Yeah, that's not reasonable. I mean, listen, don't take my word for this. What you could do ideally would be to ask around, okay? If anyone you know has been employed by this company, okay, presumably you know what organization it is. With tools like LinkedIn, you can go on there and you can see other people employed at that organization, okay? You can send them messages. You could say, hello, you don't know me, but I'm being interviewed for a job at your company. I just want to ask you, did they make you pay for your own background check? Is that something you had to do? Is that normal? And just see what they say. And that can help inform you. But without knowing anything else, I would say, no, that's not standard and that doesn't sound reasonable. Okay? So depending what other opportunities you might have, if you have a bunch more, great. If you don't have any, well, I would only pursue this if you were, in immediate need of a lead. But even then, I would be very careful. C-Rock says, I like the startup talk. Yeah, I do too. That's what I've been doing for the last 8 years. And I've done it. And, when we're talking about job interviews, when I've hired people, I like to have people with some kind of entrepreneurial experience. I don't care if you owned and operated a popsicle stand when you were like 6 years old. I'm looking for someone that has that experience personally, because I think that that's such an eye-opening experience. It trains people in what's important in the world of business. I look for that even for people with in a conventional job. MA says, hello, Bill, you're doing a great job with the channel. One of the finest. Thank you so much, MA. I appreciate that. It's very flattering of you guys. Bill, what is the best way to overcome better experienced candidate from other company that come for a position in your company that you also want to take? So how do you beat your competition? Is that what you're basically saying? What is the best way to overcome better experience? There's many schools of thought on that one. Some of them less savory than others. But what I would say is, look, you're competing for something, okay? You're trying to satisfy someone or something. So if you do a better job than anyone else of finding out exactly what the needs of that person are, or that thing is, whether it's an organization or a committee, you will win. Okay? Someone might be better looking than you. They might be more handsome, physically good looking. They might have better, charisma. They might be a better speaker. They might have a flashier resume with a few other things on there, right? But if you fit more than they do of what is needed for that role and what people are looking for that role, you can beat them. I mean, you guys know, or hopefully you do, in this world, like in the world of business, it's not the first person that wins the race, the first person to start. It's not the person with the most money that wins. Right? A couple of things that are more universal is, being nice really helps. Being someone they would want to work with. If someone is like brilliant, you're up against some brilliant person, but they're very condescending. And, they can't relate to people who are struggling. You might have an edge, right? You might be more empathetic. You might be someone that the person would rather work with. Right? And a lot of times, just keep in mind, people don't want what they should want. That's sort of a universal concept. I've talked about this at length. As a society, depending on what country you're in, we spend more money on entertainment than we do on the school system. People don't want the things that they should want. And this business, HR and recruitment and selection is no different. They think that they want a certain thing until they get it. Then they realize that person didn't work out at all. And they don't know what to do. They passed up highly talented people that should have been a shoo-in for the job so they can hire this person here because they thought that's what you needed. And it turns out that they couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, how often does that happen? That happens every day. That happens every about 5 seconds, I think. Okay? So what that means is that there's a good amount of random probability in who gets the job, because the person interviewing might just, or the hiring manager who has final say, they might just be looking for something totally out to lunch. And you could have never satisfied them. You were the best person for the job, but you could have never satisfied those requirements because those requirements are idiotic, right? So remember, that's why it's a numbers game. That's why the only thing that you can do to succeed is to increase the number of leads you have. The more opportunities you have, the more chances are that you will land one of those opportunities. Okay? There's a certain amount of skill, but there's also a certain amount of luck, of random probability. Okay? You need persistence, and you need a way of creating more and more opportunities and pursuing those. And not stopping until you land something. We got Yaya. There was a song from the 50s called Yaya. It was a rockabilly number. Sets your toes to tapping. Yaya says, I have a question. In this day and age, is it fine to go to companies and ask to speak to a hiring manager and ask for an opportunity? Or should I just apply online and wait for an interview call? Neither. Don't do either of those, in my opinion. There are things you can do, but these aren't what the thing you should do. I go over it extensively in my course. I've got some free videos that talk about it too. Basically, you go to executives. Okay, when you say hiring manager, don't say, I would like to speak to a hiring manager. Don't say that. Because the question is, who's the hiring manager? The real hiring manager is the person in charge. The person who decides on who gets hired. Okay, and obviously there's several of those in an organization. The problem is when I talk about this stuff just out of the blue without setting it up, it sounds counterintuitive. So I don't know if people would really believe me, but one kind of principle is don't start at the bottom of an organization and try and go up. Don't talk to a receptionist and then try and go up to the hiring manager. Instead, start at the top and go down. Okay, a lot of young people don't believe me when I say this, but it's true. Most companies are small. In the United States, something like approximately 15% of all companies are big. Or 15% of all people that have jobs work in a big company. The other 85% of people that have jobs work in small companies. Okay? Now, what that means is that if you go to the owner of a small company, or the most senior manager of a small company that runs the company, a general manager or something, when you tell young people this, they say, oh no, I could never talk to that person. I'm not important enough. You're plenty important. If you understand how to present yourself professionally and you're polite, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it. People do this every day, constantly. Why shouldn't you? If you approach the owner of a company and say, hello, my name is X. I'm 19 years old. I'm just out of school. I would love to work in this industry. I don't have any experience, but I have a desire to learn, and I'd very much like to work for you, even if I have to start at the bottom. The next time you have a job opening, please consider me. Here's my card. Thank you so much for your time. Take care. The next time they're posting a job, before they go to all the trouble and expense of posting the job, if it's something that you might be able to do, you've just given them a gift. They can contact you and say, hey, I got a job. I might have a job for you. Why don't you come in and we'll talk about it, right? Isn't that so much simpler than employing recruiters, hiring managers, writing job descriptions, posting the job, doing advertising, doing promotion, interviewing rounds and rounds of candidates, selecting somebody, blah, 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 background checks? This is much cheaper, quicker, easier. You haven't sold yourself on your resume. You've sold yourself on your professionalism. It's what you've demonstrated by doing it that's getting them to give you a chance. Okay? So don't call the company and talk to a receptionist. They act like gatekeepers. Their job is to keep non-essential calls away from the decision makers. Okay? Instead, you contact the people, the decision makers directly. You do that with things like LinkedIn. There are other ways too. You can walk into the company in the days before 2020, certainly. We're getting back there now. But you can walk into the company, you can talk to the reception and say, hi, I would very much like to speak to the owner. Are they available? Chances are they will say no. You say, okay, no problem. Here's my card and maybe my resume. Could you pass that on to them, please? What's their name, if I could ask? And they say, okay, well, here, I'll pass that on. Thank you very much. And then you leave, you come back, you call the decision maker because you know their name and their phone number. And then you say, hi, I'm just following up to see if you got my card and my resume. And then you give the same sales pitch. I'm very interested to learn about your industry. I think from what I know of you guys, you do a fantastic job. I would love to work for your company. If ever a job comes up and you're looking, please keep me in mind. Thanks so much. Have a great day. That's what you do. Okay? And I don't know about you, but I've encountered a lot of rude receptionists in my life. Some more than others. But some people that should have no business sort of answering phones. Some organizations employ those people intentionally to make them more effective at blocking a lot of noise, so only legitimate stuff gets through. Wow, Razor Sharp Money Puck says $2.79. That's awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Razor Sharp. You are awesome. If you have a question, oh, there we go. You did have a question. Okay, so Razor Sharp Money Puck says, how would you go about asking for time off to interview for a new position with title and pay advancement without rustling feathers at a current job you've been at for less than 5 months? I'll have to interview a new position with title and payment without rustling feathers at a new current job. Well, if it were me, what I would do is I would talk to presumably the decision maker, the boss. Okay. I would do it one-on-one. I would do it informally. Now, the best situation to do that would be is if this person takes lunch. Okay. What do they do for lunch? Is there like a cafeteria in the workplace? Do they go off-site to have lunch for a restaurant? Do they eat lunch in their office or at their workbench? Whatever, okay? I would try and talk to them informally at that time. Say, like, do you mind if I bring my lunch here and, we have a lunch chat? Let's do a lunch date, if that's possible. That's what I would do. I'd have a casual conversation. I wouldn't bring it up immediately like a formal thing. I would just talk about it. And you could talk about work. You could talk about where things are going. You could talk about how different people are doing or how you're doing, how the operation is going. And then if protocol allows and it's not awkward, you could ask about this new position and say, I'm interested in that. Like, can you tell me more about it? Would it involve this? Would it involve that? And it's more like an informational kind of interview rather than you asking for the job. Okay. It's just like, I would like more information on it. Now, you got to read their body language. If they're just totally not into talking to you about it and they're reluctantly giving you information about it, that kind of says one thing. And at that point, if you want to back out, you can without any awkwardness. If you want to, if it's very positive and, you're developing a rapport with your boss and it's an enjoyable exchange, then you can go even further and say, well, you know what? Like, if possible, I would like to be considered for that. Just leaving that with you. I mean, if you feel it's a good idea, I'd be all for that if it were possible. Just thought I'd let you know. And that would probably be, for me, that would be the way I would do it. Now, I know that might not be possible depending on your circumstance, but that's kind of the approach I would take. Okay. I know it's a total cliche, but in the world of business, like, lunch is a great excuse to have positive interactions with people. Okay. Especially if you're not like in your work setting when you eat lunch, it can be great. You can develop positive relationships with people. If you don't believe me, go for lunch with somebody at work, maybe somebody that you don't super get along with. They're not your number one friend, and you'll see your relationship will improve after that. If you talk about sports and hobbies and, whatever, you will see how you come together, over other topics. And you'll see that you have a lot of similar opinions and a lot of similar background on different other things. And then you will both be more friendly to each other. Okay. That's why it's a cliche. A lot of business people do lunch. Let's do lunch, right? That's the first cliche of business. And the other one is Get Me New York, right? I should get t-shirts that say Get Me New York. The company's expert. The company's expert. Top 10 says, can you please talk about what? Last company's defamation? You mean like the defamation? My last job is talking trash. Oh, yeah, defamation. My last job is talking trash to my current job. Thanks. So you've already gotten a new job and you're working in this new place. But even though you're already an employee and you've already started work, your old job is contacting your new boss or something at your current job and telling them that you're a bad person or something. I wouldn't have thought that would make too much difference. Usually people prefer to believe the evidence of their own eyes than what someone they don't know says about you. If you're doing the hiring process, that can be a problem. Like if they're checking references and they're hearing from an old employer that's saying bad things about you, that can be a problem. Obviously, I know this is self-evident, but don't give them references for these people. If they say, can I contact your previous employer? Say no. No, I don't think so. One reason is I'm still employed there. I don't want them to know I'm leaving. That's a very convenient thing to say. Second thing is, we did not leave on good terms. So I don't know, there might be a little bit of animosity there towards me, and that might color their report. So I prefer not to give you that. Other than that, if it is a current job, then hopefully your performance should speak for itself, and I would directly address it. If they've been talking about you, I would proactively go and say, like, look, I don't know what they've been saying, but this is my side, and maybe an explanation. They're just bitter because I left on bad terms, and I think they're taking it a bit personally. But that is, in fact, why I left, something like that. Okay. Razor sharp money puck. That's a mouthful, but it's a good question. It's a good name. How would you go about asking for time off to interview for a new position with title and pay advancement without rustling feathers as a current job you've been at for less than 5? I already did that one, didn't I? Sorry. The writing for these, where my setup here, it's far away and it's very small, so I apologize. Phil V says, what is your greatest strength as an employee? I'm willing to perform services in exchange for currency. Wahaha. I can guarantee you they've never heard that one before. And then you say, I'm here every Tuesday, even though it's Wednesday. That's the big joke. Okay, top 10 says, my current job is checking with my last job. Oh, I see. Okay, so it's a reference type situation. Okay, well, listen, if they haven't done it yet, I don't know, it sounds like they might have, but if they haven't done it yet, they insist upon doing it, I would immediately call my old boss at my old job. And I would say, look, hello, it's me. I know we've had our differences, okay? And I'm sorry it didn't work out. However, my new organization that I'm interviewing with that may be interested in me will likely call you for a reference. Do you think it's possible for you to give me a somewhat okay reference? Would that be okay? I would very much appreciate it. Something like that. Just a little bit of like a preemptive strike to try and just kind of smooth them over. Okay? If they have done it already, the only thing that you can do now is to sort of give sort of your side of the story, right? I mean, that's the only thing you can do if they've already done it. So apart from that, that's pretty much it. And then listen, look, hopefully it works out. But if it should not work out because of this, at least now you know. So next time, don't give them as a reference. Or if they ask if they could have them as a reference, don't give it. Or instead of giving your boss as the reference or the employer, give a coworker, maybe someone that you got along with while you were there. If you have such a person, they can be like a peer reference, okay? Rather than the boss reference. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, tricky situation. And look, you live and learn. Hopefully this won't matter, okay? But just in case it does, you'll know what to do next time. So it's a win-win. In a sense that you lost. If you know what I'm saying. Okay, where are we here? Checking with my last job. Oh, time for some Red Bull. Have you guys tried any of those energy drinks? I know I drink Red Bull. That's the only one that I've drunk, but they have some weird drinks out there. And they got all kinds of weird stuff in them. And they come in with very odd packaging. So if you have any of those, let me know what you'd recommend. So I can further continue to treat my body as a temple and really ride to the top. Okay, top 10 says, I don't give info. They check illegally my tax discounts. Say my last. Ooh, okay, well, that's not good. It's a very common practice in Portugal. Okay. Yeah, that's awkward. I mean, this is the thing. Employers, that's a little bit of an issue I know they're encountering in the United States, where employers, their goal is to decrease the risk of a candidate. And part of doing that is to make sure that their finances are under control. If you get a job and you're absolutely desperate for money, for whatever reason, to the point where it's going to affect your behavior, you might steal from the company, you might do something on the side, they're worried about that. That's a risk they'd be taking on if they were to find out that something is kind of iffy with your personal finances. So I know there's an issue in the States where employers are going to great lengths to try and verify this stuff, and it's sort of bumping up against the privacy laws and things like that they have down there. So that's a bit of a sensitive topic. And it's a situation where employers shouldn't be doing it. And if you ask them, they say they're not doing it. But what we've seen is that a lot of them are doing it. And that's also creating some awkwardness too. What the Fruits, that's an awesome name, says, Hi, Bill, a little bit of a tangent, but I got the interest of the R&D department and they wanted to get me into their department, i.e. a promotion. My managing supervisor is blocking this transition. Any tips on the situation? Yeah, that's awkward. You basically have to do it in secret, if possible. If it's not possible, then it's an open conflict because you could risk your current position for the chance of getting a new position. Now, this comes down to your personality. It also comes down to the probability involved here. But if I didn't know the odds, the likelihood of it happening with the R&D department, I'm the type of person that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I would rather stay where I am with something I have than risk it for the chance of something else if there's a good chance it might not work out, because then you can end up with neither. So that's just me. Really have to fill in the blank with the type of person you are and an in-depth knowledge of your particular situation. If you were to end up with both of these not working out, would you be okay? Like, that's the big question, right? If you are planning to leave anyway, it's a dead-end job, and most people move on anyway, then maybe the risk is justified. It may be possible to sort of cozy up to your boss and sort of smooth things over with them. It might be possible. If that is possible, I would investigate that, seeing if you could sort of smooth the way. I don't know what you really have to bargain with if you're offering to leave. You can maybe try and ease the transition so that if you leave, it's as non-disruptive as possible by cross-training other people, by setting everything up in advance. I mean, maybe that might be a factor. If it is possible to do any of that stuff, that's something that you could definitely try and do. There are other things that I would not recommend. Like some people say, and I have heard people say this, like try to be a bad employee. So they want to get rid of you, give that impression for a while. But I wouldn't recommend that. Bill, is it worth being a paid LinkedIn member, especially while doing a job search? I'd say no. I've built up like well over 3,000 connections to executives and things. And I did try the paid thing for a while, but I gave it up. Basically, this is back in the day, a couple of years, but they would give you in-mails. You get unlimited in-mails. And I think you get unlimited search. Like that may be useful, but if it is, it's just a minor detail. In-mails are not really that useful. They really aren't. You can send a message to someone, but they are not connected to you. They don't know about you. They don't care about you. So what's the point if they don't respond? And most people, in my experience, don't respond to in-mails anyway. So what's the point? If you send a connection to somebody, a connection request, and they connect with you based on your little note, and then you ask them for maybe an informational interview or something. Are you open to grabbing a coffee? I'd very much like to get your opinion on a few things about your industry, blah, blah, blah. And they acquiesce to that. They agree to meet you. Great. Here is somebody that now, if you ever ask more of them, they might be inclined to do it. Great. But what's the point of sending messages to people you don't know if they don't care about you? If they don't care enough even to respond, they regard it as spam. That's been my experience. I'm not a LinkedIn super user that knows everything, but that's been my experience. Yes. So there you go. Wow. Am I at the end? I can't scroll back and see other questions, but I think I'm up to au courant with the questions. So thank you very much for sending in those questions. It's great to see. And I see that according to this, there are 44 people live. So that's awesome. That's really awesome. I thought literally there'd be like 3-4 people here. So that's great to see. You guys are awesome. I'm glad that you must be getting value out of it because you're sticking around. So that's so gratifying. If anyone has any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to be wrapping it up pretty soon. Okay. Shiba Boy 23. Awesome. Says, hi, Bill. I reached the final founder interview and did well. So I guess that's the founder of the company. Got the email that the company is freezing hiring and will keep my CV on file. if they restart, what are my chances they'll send an offer? Well, listen, Shiba boy, that can be code for we've gone with somebody else. Okay, that's a lot of times how they phrase it. If they ever say, I'm sorry, our hiring process is on hold, right? Or we've frozen hiring. It's a well-known euphemism for we're not hiring you. It doesn't always mean that, but it does a lot of times, okay? Now, that's fine, okay? If I hope it works out, okay? I hope it works out. But if that's what they're saying and they don't call you back, chances are they're not going to send an offer. But it's not over till it's over. Now, in the meantime, like I said, don't sit around waiting for them. Focus instead on more opportunities. Create more opportunities for yourself. Apply for more jobs. Contact more people in the hidden job market, okay? Make things happen. That should always be your focus, because until somebody actually sends you an offer, that's what you do. Okay? You do the best thing for yourself and you pursue opportunities, and you don't stop until somebody gives you more than just promises or words. Okay? A lot of things about recruiters is that they don't deserve any credibility with their words. There's some good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones. And unfortunately, the bad ones have ruined it for a lot of people. There's a lot of lip service in that business. So that's what I'll say. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. Nerd Boy has retracted his message. And it's a good thing too. He would have set the whole place aflame with that. It's like the type of people that, they go walk into a chat room and then they throw a grenade and then they leave, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure Nerd Boy had something really interesting to say. I'm now curious. So Nerd Boy, let us know what you want to say. Shiba Boy says, thank you for your advice. My pleasure, Shiba Boy. My pleasure. You're doing just fine. If 23 is your age, okay, you are at a magical point in your life. It probably feels like crap, but it's at a pivotal point. You are learning super important life lessons that are going to allow you to clean up later, okay? So no matter how your job search is going, okay, you are going to come out on top. Don't worry about it, okay? It might be a rocky road to get there a little bit, but it is going to pay off. And, it's going to pay off pretty quick. It's going to start to pay off pretty quick. Okay, the big ham. The big ham. Okay. Imagine the possibilities. I'm having a meeting with a boss 3 or 4 steps above me. Yeah, don't be intimidated. Okay? Don't be intimidated. They're 3 or 4 steps more out of touch than you. Okay? So don't let them convince you otherwise. The last time they did your job there, was probably about 1922. So always remember that. They want to get to know me and my aspirations. Any suggestions on this type of informal interview? Yeah, I do. I assume you're applying for a job and they have a job description and they have all the requirements, right? Those things that they say that they're looking for, okay? That's what you talk about. That's what you say you have, okay? And I'm sure you have them more or less, if not completely, then at least you could you have something comparable, right? And that's what you talk about. So whenever they ask you questions like, what are you interested in? Or, why should we hire you? Or, what's great about you? Or what's your biggest accomplishment? The answer to all those questions is the things that they've listed that they're looking for. Okay? You talk about that stuff and you don't really deviate too much from that, because that's all they're interested in, other than token soft skills like, how friendly you are, how much they would want to work with you as a person, okay? How polite you are, how professional you are, and whether you look the part or not. Whatever job it is, well, there are some exceptions, but most jobs, especially knowledge worker jobs where you sit at a desk, don't show up in sweatpants with a beard down to here, with food stains all over your vest, right? And you talk about that stuff, and that gives you the best chance. Okay. If they say, what are you interested in? Don't start talking all about bird watching or drag racing or, cricket, right? On the off chance that they share those. Now, if you do know that the boss likes a certain thing and you're not completely being disingenuous, you actually like that thing too, that might be a good thing to mention. But that's not the main line. Okay, so you talk about those requirements. That's what you talk about. That's what you're there to talk about. That's the purpose of a job interview for you. Okay, but great question. Thank you for asking that. Let's see. 54 watching now. 57 people are 56. I jinxed it. And everybody knows that 57 is an unlucky number. Starting to go really quick. Nerd Boy, hi Bill. I really love your videos. What is your suggestion to applicants outside the US to look for H-1B jobs? Not to advertise my ignorance, but what is an H-1B job? How to get noticed by LinkedIn recruiters? I don't know, because I don't care about LinkedIn recruiters. The way to get a job is not to go through a recruiter. Let that sink in for a minute. Yeah, you only deal with recruiters if you have to. Like if you're in a job interview and they've contacted you, they've invited you in to meet with a recruiter, that's when you deal with a recruiter. But you don't go outside of your own, you don't initiate something that will get you to talk to a recruiter. Okay? It's hard to explain why in a nutshell. Just watch my channel. Okay? 75% of people that get hired through networking. And that's a conservative estimate. It's more than 75. It's somewhere in the 80s. You get hired because you know someone, you have a friend that works there. Or you've established a relationship with some boss, and a couple months later, they have to hire for a position, and you threw your name in the hat. You said, if ever you're looking, let me know, because I'd love to work there. And they said, okay. Right? So you don't get the job, you don't get the chance because you talk to a recruiter. You get the job because you talk to somebody other than a recruiter, usually the hiring manager. Do not use, in my opinion, my advice to somebody, if somebody asked me, what should I do? I would say, don't use LinkedIn to talk to recruiters. You want to use LinkedIn to go around the recruiters to the decision makers, the hiring managers, the CEO, the vice president, the general manager, the operations manager, marketing manager, sales manager, the supervisor. Maybe. Those are the people you go to. Let me tell you something. There's nothing that impresses anyone more than the CEO handing the vice president of HR your resume and saying, look into this person for this job. Nothing's going to carry more weight than that. When that happens, you will be treated completely different by the HR department than what you're used to, what you never thought possible. Okay, let me tell you. And when I say CEO, I'm not talking about Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about the CEO of all those small companies that 85% of people work in. Okay? Somebody who is in charge of, say, 100 people, or 500 people, or 300 people. Okay? They've given the matter 10 minutes of their attention. They give their resume to the head of HR. They deal with it from there. They're going to think twice before they ghost you now, or they don't call you back, or they don't give you a fair chance. Okay. Hopefully you guys know, for people who don't know, I have a course that walks you through that whole process. Okay. It's called Get Hired. The link's in the description. I also have another course, by the way, called $100 MBA. I got to plug it sometime. Teaches you everything you would learn in an MBA and Masters of Business Administration for $100. The catch is that it's not accredited, but you learn everything. You learn from the source, from the same material. It only costs $100, and then you buy the books. You can buy them for very cheap on Amazon for literally $5 a book. And then you learn it at your convenience. No tests, no evaluations. And you go as deep as you want. If you don't want to go deep, if you just want to learn the gist of it, you can do that. If that's of any interest to you, check out the link in the description. H-1B visa sponsorship. Okay, so this is like an immigration thing. Okay, from what the fruits. Unfortunately, that's I'm not the type of YouTuber that sort of, will give you an opinion on everything and advice on everything, whether or no I know what I'm talking about or not. That's a little, unfortunately, outside my core competency. I don't have too much experience with visa requirements that are attached to immigration and green cards and stuff like that. So sorry about that. I really don't know the ins and outs of it. And it has changed in the last several years, so I haven't really kept up with that. I can tell you the general principles, but for the details of visa sponsorships and stuff, I'm sorry. I just don't know. Not a lot of experience there. TT says another technology. Okay. Oh, when working in a big company around 700 employees, what is the best way to get out of your current account project to a totally different account, another project, another client, another technology in the same company, especially when your current account manager doesn't want you to leave? This is to get more exposure and better experience. That's a great question. Here's the deal. You are now involved in a political issue here. Okay? If you're trying to transfer to a different department and your current department manager doesn't want you to go, it's very similar to the question that somebody asked like 5 minutes ago. There's a couple of ways of looking at it. Number one, just to sum up what I said before, there's risk involved, okay? You're going to risk your current job on the chance of getting another job. That can go bad, okay? It's possible to end up with neither. It is possible for it to succeed, but it's risky, okay? Depending on your personality, depending on your situation, that risk may be acceptable or not, okay? Only you know that. I don't know the exact situation. One thing you can do is to try and cozy up to your current boss and eliminate that barrier, okay? So if they're worried about the disruption of you leaving, that's one thing. You can try and influence that and try and help smooth over that disruption if it were to occur. Secondly, if it's a personal matter, it's like they take it as a personal betrayal that you're leaving them in the lurch. They now have to find a new employee and deal with that. That could be another aspect of it. Okay, in which case you can try and smooth that over on a personal level with them. 10 minutes ago, I was talking about the importance of like lunch as an excuse for people to have more benign interactions and build relationships. Okay. I hate using all this management speak, but it's true. Go have lunch with somebody and you get closer to them. You talk about hobbies, you talk about other things. You become friends easier when you're talking about that stuff as opposed to like dealing with your on the job type content. Okay. So those are some of the things that you can do. Okay. But it is a risk and it's up to you whether you want to take that risk, and it's going to depend on the details. There's a lot of stuff scrolling by here. Sorry if I've missed your question. The one thing, like as I'll say, if you want to jump to the top of the line, just do a super chat. I will prioritize those. Thank you for your videos. Great information, very insightful. Thank you. GJ. That just rolls off the tongue. GJ. Gerald Joseph. Thank you. Gerald Joseph of the Burlington Josephs. I think we all know what they've been up to. Bishal Das says, hello, sir. I am from India and I really love your video. I did my front-end web development and now I'm looking for a job, so suggest me a trusted job site or something. Okay. Well, look, I mean, the sort of default is Indeed, right? Indeed.com. I mean, I don't know if that has a huge presence in India, but that's certainly in the United States. I'm not in the United States, but in the United States, that's kind of where they're centered. But just look, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to not just me, but like other, channels that talk about employment. Okay. And just start consuming content. Just pick up tips, pick up the methods people use to get jobs. Okay. The reason I say this is because job websites are generally not a very good way to get a job. Okay. You can easily apply for like literally 1,000 jobs and not get an interview. Okay. If you're just responding to online job postings. Okay. There are other methods that are much more effective. Okay. And if you have a skill, you can always use your skill to do something on your own and get attention that way. Okay. If you don't have a ton of things on your resume, create something. Start designing websites for people. Okay. Approach a company professionally, learn how, and offer to do their website or offer to do something for them. Or talk to them about, what they think of websites and what they would have need for and, this kind of thing. Do something. You can do that and then create stuff on your resume. But as for websites, yeah, Indeed, Monster. There's Monster's very old. But just go to Google or something and then type like job website. What they're called aggregators because they don't post the jobs themselves. They gather jobs that are posted on other sites and display them all in one place for you. That's called a job aggregator. And that's what Indeed used to be the king of. You can get some jobs posted by Indeed, but most of them will be for third-party companies. So what you want is a job aggregator. So hopefully that helps. Let's see, what do we have here? What the Fruits is chiming in with the H-1B visa thing. Yeah, that's great. It's great that somebody has more experience with that than I do. That's a great resource. Karen Taylor, cozy up to your current boss. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Well, look, I mean, here's the deal. I don't mean it in a slimy way. I don't mean it in like an obsequious kind of, slimy, fake, kind of... That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, look, here's a person, they have the job of getting you to work. Here's your job. Unfortunately, you're stuck with this person telling you what to do. The more you guys get along and the more you kind of respect each other, the better it will be for everybody, okay? So knowing this, try and make things as easy as possible. If you get along with your boss, even though they're still your boss, they're never going to be your buddy, but even though they're your boss, if you get along with each other and you respect each other, it makes things more bearable. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay, don't don't fake this kind of thing to make someone pretend that you're their friend. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, be genuine. Okay, I'm sure that like that's the thing with diplomacy. You can always find something that the other person has, some opinion, something they've done in their background that you at least respect, and they will be able to do the same for you. Okay. And that way you can at least get along and have a tolerable, functional relationship as a boss and a worker, It's a fallacy that you have to hate everybody you work with and hate your boss on principle. That's just plain stupid. And it makes sure that everybody is absolutely miserable in those type of jobs. For 8 years, I was in the railroad with the railroaders, directing people how to fix locomotives. Basically grease monkeys in a garage that fix locomotives, right? Industrial equipment. It was not refined. It was not graceful. It was not a happy place. People were crude. People were mean. People were crass. The culture was you have to march into someone's office, slam your fist down the desk, and start yelling at them to get their attention. You couldn't really do anything otherwise. That was the culture. They used the language of sailors. You got 2 to 3 maybe 2.3 F-bombs per sentence. That's how it's like. You work in construction, you work in the steel industry, you work in the railroads. It's all like that, but if you hate people and they hate you, that's miserable. That's absolutely miserable. So if at least the people around you, you have a sort of working relationship with them and you can tolerate each other and you're somewhat friendly, that's the thing to do. Okay. It's a fallacy that you've got to be a jackass to get ahead in business or in the world, really. It really is. You can get temporary gain by screwing people over and being a jerk, but in the long run, it's self-defeating. And this game is a long game, let me tell you. Okay, I've noticed Indeed, LinkedIn, etc. are reserved for high volume, low yield, low effort applications. Yes, they are. So that begs the question, where are all the higher level jobs, all the good jobs? They're in the hidden job market. That's where they are. I still get people telling me on a weekly basis that doesn't exist. Sorry, guys, it does. That's where they are. And I cover in my course how to tap that. Like, one of the things I wanted to talk about today, which is, I probably don't have time now, but was the recruiter's perspective, okay? Like, if you're going up for a supervisor type job or a manager type job, okay? Somebody owns something, and as the manager, you're the person that they trust to take care of it, right? So when they look for a candidate for those type of jobs, it's not that they just care about your credentials and your resume and your education, okay? That's secondary. The number one thing that they care about is, do they trust you? Okay, that's number one, because I don't care if you got the most brilliant person in the world. Okay, you got Albert Einstein to take care of your little department, right? But if you can't trust them, right? If you think they might not care about the job, they only took it just as a status symbol, and they don't really care about doing this type of work. They don't like this kind of work. They thought the title was flashy, but really they're not good. And they don't know that business, They might have 3 MBAs from Harvard, Yale, and Brown, but they still don't care about your business. That trumps everything. It doesn't matter how brilliant they are. It doesn't matter how great they are as a person, how friendly they are. If you can't trust them, deal's off, right? No dice. So that's the thing. When you go up for a management type job, that's the big question. The number one question that everybody's asking is, who is this person? I don't want to give my thing away to a stranger. If you ever, I said this in the last live stream, if you want to hire someone to help you move to a different place, like you want to, you live in an apartment and now you bought a house or something and you got to move all your stuff. You're going to hire someone that you're going to trust all your personal things to. And if you pick the wrong person, some of your personal things might go missing, right? Or they might be dropped and smashed, or they left out in the rain or whatever, right? You don't know who this person is. They're a stranger. Oh, sure, they say the right things. Oh, sure, you can check them, but you don't really know them, right? So that's the number one concern that people have. So whenever they're hiring for a management job or a very important job that they get put in charge of this very expensive, important thing, right? Number one question is, can they trust you? Who would you trust? Who would you trust to move your stuff when you're not looking? Family member? A friend you've known for years? Would you trust someone off the street that you've never met until now? That's a big question. So that's the reason why those jobs are done differently. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to wrap this up very soon. We still got 49 people here. Holy crap. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this rambling trip to nowhere that I'm taking with you. I apologize, it's not more coherent, but some people are asking some pretty awesome questions. Pretty intelligent. Just a couple more here. So Min says, just wanted to say thank you. I'm looking for a job in another country with a different language now. Ooh, that's I salute you. That's an accomplishment. Your channel is not only very helpful, but it's a source of my emotional support. Thank you so much. My pleasure. Look, this stuff is never easy, okay? Especially if money is an issue. This stuff is not for the faint-hearted. So, it's one of those things in life where your emotions really go on a roller coaster, and as a result, it can be quite grueling. And so if you're going through that right now, I just want to say that it will get better. Okay, this kind of vibe that you're getting now, you're not going to stay there forever. This will end. It will turn out well. Okay, sometimes sooner, sometimes later, but you will get out of this and it will work out. Okay, it's just that sometimes the journey is a bit rocky, especially if you're learning these life lessons and business lessons in the process. That's why it's challenging for people in their 20s. You come out of school, they don't really tell you any of this stuff, and then you don't understand why the world isn't behaving the way you expected it to behave. That's because there's a lot of principles going on behind the scenes that govern things, and you don't understand them yet. So the more you start learning those principles and how things really work, it's not a big secret, and it's not a conspiracy. It's just that, it's how people behave. And you're learning it now, and you're right up against some of these lessons, some of you guys, Have an open mind. Learn as much as you can. Listen to me, listen to other people, learn as much as you possibly can. You will benefit. And you're having a great start by being here. So yeah, Min, that's quite a challenge, and it certainly can be overcome. But I wish you the best on that. Karen Taylor says, yes, Bill, I know the cozy thing was just jesting. Yeah, no problem. No, I knew. I knew that all along. But thank you, Karen. Okay, Career says, is this live show recorded? I hope so. I'm going to repost it. Because I've done a few of these live streams. My internet connection isn't amazing. And sometimes it kind of comes in and out and it looks terrible. So I'm going to post my actual recording of it. And there you go. But your comments are here, so they will be preserved. Bashal Da says, sir, thanks a lot for your kind information. And now I'm going to bed because it's time in India. 1:23 in the morning. Yeah, get some sleep. If you're worn down, it's not going to work out. So yes, a good night's sleep. I totally understand. And I hope that you feel well rested in the morning. Karen Taylor says, any tips on how to answer the question, why are you leaving so soon, without coming across badly? Well, the thing you probably want to say is that, quite frankly, you guys suck and I hate you, and I'm hoping to leave this chapter behind as quickly as possible. But obviously, you're not going to say that. Okay. Usually what companies do is they do some kind of exit interview. That's a standard question on the exit interview. I've done like 100 exit interviews with people. It helps if you have a good rapport with them. So then if they do leave, when you do an exit interview, they're a bit more inclined to keep it real. But in my experience, I don't think people really keep it real. And if you do, usually it doesn't work out best for you. Okay. So what you want to say is, look, you want to say, first of all, flatter. Listen, I've enjoyed my time here. You guys have been great to me. I really appreciate you allowing me and trusting me enough to engage me here for this long. I've learned a tremendous amount. I've really benefited from this experience. Thank you so much. I have no hard feelings towards you guys whatsoever. I just have some personal goals that I need to meet. And that involves sort of taking a different path. And I wish I could stay, but unfortunately I can't. I have to go off and pursue these. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm sure you understand. Thank you so much for everything. And I hope there's no hard feelings. I know that you guys will do great with whoever my replacement is. They will enjoy working here and it will all work out. Something like that. Just blah, 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 blah. That's what I would say. Something like that. Because if you really kept it real and said, look, quite frankly, the pay sucks. And you know what? If I got to work with this person again, I might as well kill myself now. stuff like that. I mean, what's the good of saying that? It's just going to make them upset with you. You're not going to influence them in any way. They're not going to take your side of it. Even despite the fact that they claim to be open-minded and they claim to honestly want to know what it is so that we can improve. Answer is no. No, they're not open-minded. They don't want to improve. They don't want to they don't want to hear anything that they don't like. The other thing is it directly benefits you because if ever you have to come crawling back, if ever that happens, hopefully it doesn't, then you're like, I'm really sorry about the little misunderstanding that, what I said in my ex interview. Yeah, so just everything's wonderful, everything's great. I just need to go and do some stuff, personal goals, get more experience. I'm sure you understand. Gratitude, 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 flattery, flattery, flattery. Goodbye. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Just a couple more here. Career says, I just hopped in. But this talk sounds interesting. Is it replayable? Yes, it will be replayable, but it'll be up in a couple of days. It'll be posted Tuesday morning. GJ, my buddy GJ of the Boston GJ says, you are amazing. I watched your videos and interviews internally at my current company. It gave me confidence. I hope you didn't watch it when you were supposed to be doing your job. I mean, I'm flattered and everything, but don't get fired. But that's very flattering. I hope they help. Interview after several years. Any suggestions? Just watch a few videos from me and other people and just refresh. Maybe do a couple of mock interviews if you're married, if you have a spouse or a friend. Like, I know it sounds like a pain in the ass, but just if you do a couple of those, it really helps. And it makes it so that when you go to the interview, it's actually less awkward, less embarrassing. You're much more on your A game. The problem is that recruiters think that they're clever and they like to ask all these creative questions that are like, in their minds, they determine if you're qualified for something or not. But in reality, it's just a very pretentious, illogical pseudoscience that they're trying to do. So it might help you handle those a bit better and things like that. Okay. But if you've been around for a while and you've done a few job interviews, you probably got this. Just do a refresher. Okay. If you're looking for a place to start, naturally, I'm going to recommend my own stuff. Go to my YouTube channel. I have a playlist called Get Hired. If you go to my YouTube channel page, it's right sort of at the top, and it has each of the job interview questions that are very common. Just you could look at those, and just look at other sources too, and you should be fine. Okay. I'm going to cap it at these last two that are displayed. Okay. And then that's it. So Mazen, Al-Hafar, if I'm saying that right, I apologize if I'm totally not. Mazen says, I am trying to find a job in Canada and I was told that they have a certain format for CVs. Do you know anything about this format or what recruiters there prefer to see in a CV? Look, if you're applying to a big company, okay, a lot of them employ the software, like applicant tracking software, okay, and that looks for keywords. I hate playing that game. I think that's not a very good way to get a job. I wouldn't kind of not bother, but depending on what you're trying to do, you might have to play that game, load it up with keywords. But generally speaking, there isn't a format that I know of, like in terms of fonts and spacing and that kind of stuff. What they are looking for is they're looking for an echo of the requirements in the job description. That's what they're looking for. Okay. So if they say, requirements, we need somebody who has 5 years experience in plumbing, and we need someone with an accounting degree. Okay. On your resume, prominently, it should say 5 years experience plumbing and accounting degree. Okay? Like my point is that they're looking for those things using the words that they use to describe them. Don't say, I have 5 years experienced in the tubular welding and pipe fitting arts, okay? Don't use that word to say plumbing. Say plumbing. If they use the word plumbing, you say plumbing, okay? If they use the term tubular pipe fitting arts, which I feel it always should have been called, you say tubular pipe fitting arts, okay? Like you use their lingo, because that's the words that they're looking for. And a lot of these times, I mean, a lot of them are good, but some of them are so stupid, they don't realize that tubular pipe fitting arts means plumbing. I mean, any idiot knows that, right? But these people won't be able to interpret anything. They're looking for the exact match, okay? So that's basically what they're, I mean, aside from that, there's no format. And remember, the word CV, curriculum vitae, that refers to an academic type resume with publications on it. If you've got a true resume with work experience on it, that's called a resume, not a CV. But once again, there are some recruiters out there that don't even know that. So if they call it a CV, you call it a CV. But technically, it's called a resume if it's what most people are using. Okay, I'm applying for a job on a cruise ship as a waitress. What should I say when they ask me about myself? Just say, I'm an awesome waitress. I have many years, being a waitress. I love being a waitress. What's the best thing about me that, you should know about me is that I'm an awesome waitress. Just kidding. Refer to my answer for how to answer. Tell me about yourself, okay? Go down your resume. Reverse chronological order. End in, and that's what brings me here today and why I'm excited to know more about this opportunity. Okay? Love you, God bless you, and wishing you all the very best on your new venture. Well, thank you. I don't know who that's directed to. Love you, Bill. Yeah, it's to me. Yeah, I don't have a new venture, just YouTube. But yes, thank you very much. Thank you for being here, TT. Thank you to everybody who showed up for this. You guys are all awesome. Don't forget to check out my channel, watch my videos. If you're into Patreon, I have a Patreon, and I appreciate all my Patreons, so you could do that. Or you could join this channel as a member and get a free video every week. Or you could check out one of my courses. I have a course called Get Hired, which gives you the full shebang-a-bang of what I recommend step-by-step to do a job search. And I also have the $100 MBA if you want to perhaps tack on management skills to your career, but you don't want to spend 5 figures going to a university and taking a year or 2 or 3 off to do it. This is maybe a way to shortcut that, especially if you're not relying on a piece of paper or a credential. You just want the skills, okay? That's what my course is for. So check those out. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I may do this again, actually. This was supposed to be just a one-off on my main channel, but I might do this again, considering how awesome you guys have been. So thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Best of luck, and I will see you in the near future. Take care.